some explosive deadlift training today. Like I talked about in my other video, some of the weeks they double up. So I had explosive squats Tuesday, and today was explosive deads. If you're wondering why I'm doing this awkward thing here with my butt, what I'm doing is checking my feet position. One of the things I messed with my setup not too long ago, and brought my feet in actually a little bit closer, and I pointed my toes out very slightly, like 5, maybe 10 degrees at the most. It's very little, but I noticed a big difference, and I like it a lot. If you're new to deadlifting, most people just kind of tell you to set up shoulder width apart or so, or maybe a little bit inside of that. It really kind of depends on your frame and what you feel comfortable doing. What I'm doing with flexing my butt, what I'm trying to do is test if I'm able to drive my hips through. Whenever the bar is coming up and I'm flexing that hard, you see at the top there, I'm driving my hips through into the bar as quickly as possible. So I don't want my feet so close together that it inhibits that movement at all. So I come in close enough to where I still feel tight and I feel strong, but not too tight. I'm a big fan of the deadlift first. Deadlift day is by far my favorite day. Even when I'm feeling bad, deadlift day is by far my favorite. Unfortunately, this bar has gone through an absolute beating, and way more weight has been on it than what I pull. And you can tell the weight's kind of laying over it all wonky. And I even put collars on it at some point after I finished my warm-up sets to try to prevent that from happening, but the bar is just too far gone at this point. Later on, you'll see me trying to pull the slack out of the bar and just kind of testing it. In the bar, it gives a lot. there's a lot of slack to be pulled even whenever you stay tight to it. One of the things that happens a lot, especially with me, is when deadlifting, my butt is generally the first thing to raise, and so I've been doing a lot of things to work on that. You'll see later on I do some deficit pulls, and the purpose of that is to try to teach myself to not necessarily squat the weight up, but kind of squat the weight up. What you essentially want to do when pulling is have your knees lock out and your hips finish in relatively around the same time. You'll notice most of these I'm pretty spot on. On my explosive days, I'm not just thinking about ripping the weight off the ground as quickly as possible. It's very much a technique day for me on bench, squat, and dead. I'm very much focusing on either depth on squatting. I'm focusing on keeping my lats activated and stable on bench, and I'm focusing on keeping my butt down and staying tight through the whole pull and finishing with, my hips and knees locking out at the same time or relatively quickly in succession. So I really like the cube as far as having an explosive day. It's really enjoyable for me. I'm a very technically minded person, and so it helps me to have that day in there to where I can have the time in my training to work on those things. This work set right here, what I'm doing is I'm working with about, I think, 65 to 70% of my 1 rep max. And what I'm doing is what Brandon Lilly does is a tandem pull. If you have a training partner, basically you'll pull then he pulls, for 8 reps, and you try to do them as quickly as possible. So essentially what I'm doing here is I'm pretending I have a ghost partner, and I pull, I step back, and basically just count down in my head how long it would take somebody to set up and pull, and then I step back and set up and pull for 8 reps. And then once I finished up here, I brought out the box for some deficit work. This box is about 2 inches high, and for me, it's been really great. I've noticed it's helped a lot. I've gotten to the point now where I'm almost, I wouldn't say stronger or more comfortable pulling from deficit, but it's become comfortable for sure. I've developed very well in my glutes, and it's helped me to keep my butt down a lot better than previous Previously, my butt would shoot straight up. I mean, and that's a really common mistake, and that's just due to lack of glute development and weaknesses. So that's one thing that's really important. Is if you reverse ladder, I just did 12, 10, 8 I think today. And then moving on to some box squats with a safety squat bar. This is about 150, I think. It's really lightweight, and I just did some triples. And this is a really good hamstring developer. It's probably one of my favorite hamstring developing movements. I don't touch and go. I don't think it breaks up the movement effectively enough. Whenever I'm doing box squatting, I sit all the way back. I almost pause, and then I almost leg curl out. And then afterwards, went into some lat work. Did what I do for lat work is, for lat pull downs, I'll do 12, 10, 8, but I do a reverse ladder where I up the weight each set. So I start with I think 135 and end up finishing with the 165 or so. This is probably one of the most neglected areas in everyone's lifting. You have to do ab work. There's just no way around it. You want to protect your back, and I don't train with a belt, and I have specific reasons for that, but you definitely have to strengthen your core, and there's tons of different exercises that I enjoy doing for that. That one you saw there was just some sit-ups, and some call them like Roman chairs, or